Michael Pittman makes the love list.
He's
JSB.
on the love list for you for pass catchers, and why?
Well, look, I'm at wide receiver 7 this week. He's playing the Jaguars, right? Jacksonville allowed 153 yards, 4 touchdowns to my undefeated in first place Washington Commanders last week. I don't know if you are aware of that. 4 touchdowns, 153 yards. Again, Pittman, 9 for 121 and a touchdown, 13 targets from Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan seems to have locked in on him. Alec Pierce dropped a touchdown. Like, he ain't getting that ball back. Like, for me, second most targets, receptions, yards in a game in his career for Michael Pittman in 1 week of Matt Ryan. So, I don't know.
Any issue with the quad?
Doesn't appear to be that way, no.
No, okay. Good to know. All right, well, we talked
about 9, yes, sure.
Yes,
I mean, I'm an old man, but yeah.
I was asking about you, actually.
Right,
I was just curious.
That. And there's my elbow a little bit, and I bang that. And I
pretty much everything.
Pretty much everything. I'm losing my hair. Yeah, I got a lot going on.
Well, you got to get some hair extensions on or whatnot.
Right.
But we talked about Mike Williams and Joshua Palmer in the first segment, and we know that all eyes are going to be on them tonight in Thursday Night Football. So you have them on your love list.
I do. I do have both of them on my love list. Williams comes in at wide receiver 9. I have Palmer at wide receiver 35. Again, we talked about it at the top of the show. But again, both guys in games in which Keenan Allen does not play, both guys have really good numbers here. We expect this to be a high-scoring game. They're going to have to throw to keep up with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Both guys, I think, are viable starts tonight. Again, look at my rankings for free on NBCSportsEdge.com, Rotoworld.com. Of course, I'm a company man. But we like both guys tonight.
Right, and Williams had a great week 3 last year against Kansas City, sort of coming back. He had 122 yards and 2 touchdowns. We know he's the roller coaster.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So what's down last week would come up, you would imagine, as we said, unless you were on one of those rides where it's like you think it's fallen and then it goes further down. And I'm talking about roller coasters. I realized I think I lost you.
Well, I didn't know if you were talking about a roller coaster or you were talking about one of those things that's like so.
I tend to start the story in the middle of where I'm thinking it is.
Right, great.
Yeah.
Which is perfect for a broadcaster.
Yes, yeah.
No, like at Universal Studios in Orlando, they have this ride called the Hulk. And it goes, you're on the outside of this thing. It's not a roller coaster. It goes up,
yes,
like
yeah,
that. Like
yeah,
it's like,
no,
you know what I'm talking about?
Good.
Oh, it's Dr. Doom's Free Fall, I'm being told. Sorry,
Okay.
It wasn't the Hulk. Okay, sorry, Dr. Doom's Free Fall. I knew it was, all right,
Well, that's
sorry.
the thing. You think it's done. Like, I went on Hagrid's motorbike ride recently because I'm 35 years old. And you think it's done, and then it goes even further. And so with Mike Williams, the analogy is that you would think he had a down week last week. You think he'd come back up unless we are dealing with a roller coaster of such sorts. All right. The best analogies are the ones you have to explain for 5 minutes.
100%.
Okay,
nice
so
job there.
you also like Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, we talked about him a little bit as well. Again, so Cooper Rush, I do think will lean on the tight end. It's a little bit of a cliche, but I do think some cliches are cliches because they're true, right, a lot of the time. So I do think that he's going to look with who we know, right? 4 of his past 5 games, he's had at least 6 receptions dating back to last season. This is Dalton Schultz, right? He's had at least a 20% target share in each of those 4 games. He had a 22% target share against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, we don't expect Michael Gallup to play in this game. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, there's not a lot in the passing game. For whatever reason, they don't want to use Tony Pollard there. Worth noting, the Bengals, last week in week 1, in that crazy game against the Steelers, Cincinnati allowed 115 yards to tight ends. Pat Freiermuth saw 10 targets. I think that's an area of the field that you can attack. So Schultz makes the love list here. I'm at tight end 4 this week.
Okay, so we will get to the hate list right now, and Mike Evans is on this one.
So again, not practicing today, a little bit of concern. Probably will be out there and gut it out, but even if he's out there, hard to love him. He's going to be. We expect him to be shadowed by Marshawn Lattimore, right? And so he's played 9 games since 2017 in which he has been shadowed by Marshawn Lattimore. He's had under 65 yards in 7 of those 9 games. 4 of them under 15 yards. 4 fewer catches in 7 to 9 games. 5 games with 2 or fewer catches. Like, Marshawn Lattimore has his number. Now, he's scored some touchdowns there, so that's really what you're hoping for here with Mike Evans, who is one of the great touchdown scorers in the game today. You're hoping that he gets matched up and he wins a 50-50 jump ball when they get in close, because they will try to do that. But I do think, especially given that if Evans is going to play in this game at less than 100%, I think it's hard for me to get, he's still Mike Evans. You're probably still starting him.
Target for Brady.
You're probably still starting him. you're probably still starting Mike Evans, but lower expectations here. I'm not touching him in DFS. I am outside my top 10, which is, and I'll probably, again, these ranks were prior when I was thinking he was fully healthy. I'm at wide receiver 11, thinking he was healthy. Now that he missed practice again today, he'll come even lower. He'll still be a wide receiver 2 for me, but not like the top 8 guy that he normally is.
Well, we just have heard that Russell Gage did practice today, so that's good news for the Buccaneers.
Gage practiced. Evans did not. Julio did not. Yes. Fournette did practice.
Right. And so we also know that you're not so hot on Rashod Bateman.
Yeah, I love Rashod Bateman, but apparently it doesn't matter because Lamar Jackson is the one that needs to love him. He had a 16% target share in week 1 against the Jets. What are we doing?
Yeah, against the Jets,
a 16% target share against the Jets. He had that 55-yard touchdown, which was great, but other than that, he had one other catch for 4 yards. So that 55, one play bailed you out, so you were happy with it, but if you look at the underlying numbers, it's a concern. And now he's going to be shadowed by Xavier Howard. That's not great. So Bateman comes in at wide receiver 34 for me against a tough Miami defense. I think this is a tight end game. I think this is a Mark Andrews game, and I think Isaiah Likely. I'm still in on Isaiah Likely.
I'm very curious to see how this one goes down too. See how Tua does. Okay, but we'll talk quarterbacks later. But Tyler Lockett's also on your hate list.
4 targets.
I know.
Had 4 targets in week 1.
Same as Noah Fant.
Geno attempted only 3 deep passes against the Broncos. That's the 3rd lowest deep ball rate by a quarterback in week number 1. So you go back to last year, and you're like, oh, it's a 1-game sample. Okay, fine. 1-game sample. Go back to last year. In 4 of the 5 games that Geno has started, there's been 5 games in which Geno Smith was the starting quarterback, the Seahawks, and Tyler Lockett was playing. In 4 of the 5 games that Geno has started, Tyler Lockett has 3 or fewer catches and 35 or fewer yards in 4 of those 5 games. If you're starting Tyler Lockett, you're hanging your hat on, one big play. That's what you're hoping for. It's because, they'll take a couple of shots deep, and he has that kind of speed. But what made Lockett so special is he had that unbelievable connection with Russell Wilson. Geno's a great story, a fire quote, as we talked about.
It was a great
We're rooting
story
for Geno. We love it. But, it's still a quarterback that threw for under 200 yards. It's still a quarterback that needed 2 goal line fumbles.
He benefited a lot from the Broncos.
He needed 2 goal line fumbles from the Broncos and just the most brain fart coaching moment I think we've seen in a long time from Nathaniel Hackett.
He really lucked out. From Denver.
I'm at wide receiver 48. I need to see some consistency. I mean, Lockett's game is inconsistent to begin with, and now you have a matchup that we don't love. They're on the road at San Francisco. So tough defense, inconsistent quarterback play. I'm looking elsewhere.
Yeah, that might have been the highlight of the season for Geno Smith. We'll have to see. Hunter Henry's also on your hate list.
He played only 6 snaps more than Jonnu Smith. He saw 1 fewer target. This offense looks broken. Again, it's 1 game, so we're having to overreact, unfortunately. But they're playing at Pittsburgh. He's had 18 games with the Patriots, Hunter Henry is. He's been held to under 40 yards in 14 of them. 14 of 18 games have been under 40 yards. He is as touchdown dependent as a tight end comes. In games in which he doesn't score a touchdown, he averages 5.4 fantasy points per game. So my question to you, Julie Stewart-Binks, do you think he scores a touchdown against the Steelers? Because if you think he scores a touchdown against the Steelers, then fine, you can go ahead and start him. But if you think there's a chance he does not, then maybe Jonnu Smith scores it, or they do it with the run game, or the Steelers play tough defenses. It's one of the lower totaled games on the slate. We don't think a lot of points are going to be scored. You're going elsewhere than Hunter Henry.
Yes, probably. I agree. I don't think he's likely going to score a touchdown when you put all of those things together.
I'm just saying.
Would you then, just before we head on out, just curious though, would you stay away from New England?
Offense, yeah. I mean, again, but maybe the running gap, because Ty Montgomery's now hurt, so maybe the running back, it was a 3-headed committee.
Right.
So maybe now
Harrison,
on the
Stevenson.
road at Pittsburgh, no TJ Watt in this game. So maybe they go more run heavy, and so maybe it's a Harrison Stevenson game, and maybe both guys get enough volume to be flex viable. But yes, I think in an ideal world, you're not starting a Patriot this weekend. Yeah. I think it's a low-scoring game. I think
you've got better options.
Yeah, the offense doesn't look great. The running backs are fine. I have both running backs as flexes this week. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.